So you're just going to look at the graph, look at the picture, and then talk about what went on in that picture. So we're on page 481. And it says the Carter family is driving to the Yukon for family vacation. The graph represents the amount of fuel in liters in the gas tank of their car on the first day of their journey. Okay, so what is this? What's going on here? What's going on in this question? What's going on in the question?
They're going to a family vacation.
Yeah, they're going on a family vacation. And what does this graph represent? The fuel. All right, so it says the graph of the journey is divided into 8 line segments. With reference to the journey, explain what is happening between A and B. So what's happening between A and B? With reference to the journey. They're driving. Right, they're driving. Write it down. Driving. Okay, so they're traveling down the road. And what happens between B and C? They stop. Okay. And what happens between C and D? Hey, let's go. Let's make this quick. They fuel up. Okay, between C and D, they fuel up. Are you looking at your own picture? Mine's going to go up and down. It's kind of awkward. They fuel back up. Then it says, what is the rate consumption in liters per hour between D and E? How many liters per hour? What is the fuel consumption between D and E? How would you know what to do? What would you need to figure out? Liters per hour. 2 things you have to figure out. Liters and the hours. Okay. So how many liters are consumed between the point D and E?
35.
You think of 35 because you took 60 and you subtracted 25 from it? Yeah. So I would say 35 liters were consumed. And how many hours is that? Say it louder. Oh, you don't know. Is it like 3.5? I mean, we know E is right here, right? So 1, 2, 3. And it looks like maybe that's a little bit over there. Let's go 3.5. So let's go 35 liters were consumed in 3.5 hours. So what would that end up to be? What's 35 divided by 3.5? 10 liters per hour. Agreed? Okay. What line segment represents the car being refueled for the second time? Everybody's clear on that? G to H, we're all good? Okay. And it says calculate the total time when the car is actually being driven. The total time the car is being driven. So what would you have to figure out? So yeah, so what would you say? You could do each time the car is driving, like you could do the A to B, the D to E, the F to G, and the H to I, but what would be easier? There'd be a lot of calculating, a lot of adding up, figuring. What could you do that might make it easier? The whole entire trip. Take away the resting time, right? Would that make sense to you? So how long did we drive here? From the very beginning to the very end. How many hours?
7 hours.
Say it again.
7 hours.
We're starting at 0700 and we're driving to 1700. How many hours is that? 10 hours. Okay, good. We're working on it. Okay, 10 hours. Subtract. Okay, he's getting there. And how much time do we need to take out of this picture? 1.5 hours. So we have a resting time from E to F. It looks like an hour here and a half an hour there. So we're going to take away 1.5 hours. And we get 8.5 hours. Correct? Okay. Then it says, if fuel costs 85 cents per liter, calculate the cost of fuel used for the first day of the journey. Wouldn't that be something? Back in the day. I actually remember that one time in my high school years, because I was driving, yeah, so it would have been like my last year of high school. I remember there was a gas war in our town, meaning that gas stations started dropping their prices, trying to, and it went down to like 30 cents. Yeah, no kidding. 30 cents. Okay, wait. Say it again, Jeffrey. Farm fuel was 43 cents a liter. Joey. Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, we're at 140. Just, yeah. Okay. All right. So here we go. They think they can beat us. Yeah. Okay. 85 cents a liter. So the cost of fuel for the first day. So what do you need to figure out? How many liters were used? Okay. So here we go back up to the picture. So how many liters were used from A to B, did we say? We said 35, didn't we?
No, that was 30.
Oh, sorry, that was DDE. Okay. How many that's 30 liters, isn't it? Okay. And then how much from D to E? That was the 35. And how much from F to G? Is that 10? Looks like 10 to me. And H to I? Another 10. Okay, so what do we got there? 65, 75, 85? Yeah. So 85 liters were used. So what are you going to do with that? Times it by 0.85. Final answer? 72.25. I have the book in front of me. You understand? So just looking at a graph, taking some information, it's not that hard. Hopefully it won't be that hard for you. Okay, turn the page. Okay, this one says, suggest a possible scenario for each of the following graphs. So it's interesting to me how many of you think the same thoughts, like from year to year, how these graphs stimulate the part, like you think of the same thing. Like on part B, do you know what everybody says? What do you think everybody says on part B? What would you say about part B? Huh? Tents? Like a tent. Tent with the T? Okay, I have never heard of a tent before. That's what's happening in this one. Yeah, I can see the tents. Okay, we can put little people in here. There, you have your little tent and I have mine, right? Okay, no, I've never heard of tents before, but in talking about a scenario, lots of people say, oh, it's a bunny rabbit hopping. Okay, were you going to say that? Like it's a bunny rabbit. Okay. So going up, okay, but that wouldn't really work. Okay, let's go back to the first suggestion. What could be a possible scenario for the first time? What are we talking about? Speed and time, right? So you have to look at what's going on. Speed and time. So it's not height. Okay, this isn't the height. Speed and time. Talk to me about what you might make for the first one. Quick. Letter A. Tell me a story. Someone's going on a run. So they're jogging at a constant speed. Okay. So this is speed is holding time true as time travels, right? As time goes on, the speed doesn't change. So maybe this is a person running. We want to say the person's jogging. Okay, person jogging. And then what happens? Okay, so they start to slow down. And then what happens? So they're slowing down here, and what happens right here? Okay, they slow down rapidly and then continue at that speed, right? Then what happens? They feel better and they go faster. They start to go faster. They read and then maintain. And then what? So they're maintaining along here and then they stop. Okay. So any amount of scenarios you could write. There's a car driving. He gets to town. Yeah, so you could be driving along and you get to a speed zone. You know, the first speed zone out here is like 50. Do you know that actually happens out here now on the way to Olds, where that traffic circle thingy is now? You go to town on your way to town. You have to slow down to 50, go around the traffic circle, then go to 80, and then get to town. So this actually that quite represents that. You go all the way down to 50, go around the traffic circle, then speed it back up. It's crazy. Okay, and we don't even know why it's there.
It used to be just straight.
Because they're
I know they're going to, but someday. I think they had, Kayla, I think they had money to spend and they had to spend it now. So they're like, okay, what should we do right now? And so they put a traffic circle. Okay, part B. Ready? Okay, part B. So it's not moving at all. It goes fast, it comes back to not moving. It goes fast, it comes back to not moving. It goes fast, it comes back to not moving. Anybody want to come up with a scenario? Jeffrey trying to learn to drive a stick shift?
Wow.
Sorry. How about, okay, Mrs. Sewell's what? Math classes. The book suggests a pendulum. So it swings, and then it swings, and then it swings, right? I mean, you could say, anybody ever been on that, you know that ride?
Those are things that like slowly kill.
No, it doesn't keep. A pendulum keeps swinging, right? If it's wound. Anybody ever been on that ride at the carnival or whatever? You get on the boat, and it swings higher and higher and higher. Great times, great times. Okay, next. Okay, have I told you the story about the kid who got on the ride? I should tell the story. Should I record the story while I'm returning? Okay, so I go to Silver, the one in Idaho. What's it called? Anybody ever been there? Amusement park?
Six Flags.
No.
Silver City. It's like
What is that? Is it Silverwood? Is that the one in Idaho? Okay, so I go to this one in Idaho. I love rides. Okay, I love rides. I don't like the spinny ones. I don't like the Gravitron where you get in it and just spins around. I don't like that. But I love roller coasters. I love rides. So at the time, my kids are too young to go with me. My husband hates rides, and so I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go. So they have this. Have you been there? Has anybody ever been there? So they have this. It was new at the time. It's probably 10 years old now. My story. Hey, Jeffrey. Over here. So it has a bunch of roller coasters, and then it has these two towers that go like straight up. It's green. Straight up, straight up. So you're gonna go one time, you go backwards through the ride, and then you go forwards and you go up the other tower. So when you go on these pieces that are straight up, the one time you're backwards, okay? And then the other time you're hanging in the harness, okay?
Oh.
Like you're literally, so this is the one where the track is above you, and your legs and your arms are dangling. You know those kinds? Anybody ever done this? Okay, they're the best, okay? So the one time you're gonna go zipping backwards through this ride, and then you're gonna go up this pole. It's like way high. I don't know how many stories it is. It's like way up there. And you're gonna be hanging in your harness. Okay, so this is the kind where you actually die if your harness comes off, okay? It's not just like for security, but you're dead. Okay, so you're gonna plummet to the ground, and
you will die.
and you will die. So, whew, it's gonna be exciting, right? So we're on this ride, and I'm kind of in there, excited, and there's just like two boys, 13 years old behind me, and I hear the conversation, and the one boy has obviously convinced, so boy A has convinced boy B that this is gonna be fun, but boy B is pretty nervous. He's like, oh, I don't know. He's like, oh yeah, come on, you're gonna love it. And the other kid's like, oh, I don't know. So he's kind of nervous about all this. And I'm just kind of smiling because I think it's so funny, boys egging each other on, right? So we get on the ride, they sit right behind me, then all you put your own harness on, okay, you put it on, you do up your belt buckle, and there's like the one that goes over your thing. And then he comes along and he pushes this down and he pushes it in. I mean, like they come along, they make sure you are in it because you are gonna die if you are not, okay? So they push down this thing and they push the one around your waist and they go down the road, you know? And so they do all that to us. It's a long row, And this boy behind me starts to cry. He is like, I want off. And so I kind of, like, you're kind of stuck, right? And I'm like, hey, buddy, you want to get off? He's like, yeah, I want to get off. So I kind of raise my hand and go like, let's go, you're stuck. So I'm kind of like, hey, to the attendant. And I said, this kid wants off. And so he's like, okay, I'll get him off. So he says, Okay, everybody, we're just gonna undo it just for a second to let this kid off. This someone needs off. But he doesn't say it in the loudspeaker. He just says it to those around so they can hear it. He walks over and he hits the button and everybody's harnesses go like this. There was like panic. Hey, mine's undone, mine's undone. Like the whole thing starts to panic because they think they're gonna set this off and they're just like panicking. And so then the guy has to run to the loudspeaker. He's like, oh, sorry for the confusion. We're just letting this guy off. But the whole thing just was like panic. Because they all think they're about to die. And they really were. I mean, if they didn't know. So it's fine. So we're letting the kid off. It was great. Everybody's good time. What's that? Oh, man. Yeah. So then and it is true. Like you get up to the top and they just hold you there, right? And you're just like, ah. It's like, tuck, tuck, tick, 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 tick. And you know all the gears are changing. They're about to drop you. Like, oh, such a rush. You should go on it. It's great. Go to Silverwood. No. This line goes like straight. Like you're literally straight down. I can show you the picture. And you literally are just hanging down straight. Okay. Scenarios. Great times. I got to go back with my kids so they can ride it with me now because they were scared at the time. All right. Well, they weren't big enough. Dana would go on it, but they weren't big enough. Okay, here we go. Sketch a graph with no scale for each of the following. The oven temperature when baking a pie. Okay, go. How would we do this? Where would you start? Okay, 0. I know everybody's going to say that. Start at 0. No, not unless your house is, like if your mother is super crazy about turning your heat off. Your oven doesn't actually start at 0 because your house is not at 0. What temperature is your house? Yeah, it depends. Dana accused me of keeping the house very cold, okay? So we're going to say like, I don't know, but it isn't at 0. Maybe it's at 10 or, well, it should be like 20 usually, 20 degrees Celsius. The oven temperature when you're going to bake a pie. So here's what happens, Jace. We're going to turn on the oven. It's going to start at about 20. And then what's going to happen? What happens to your oven, all you bakers? It starts to heat up. And it's going to heat up, okay, pretty quick, not take too long. And then it's going to get to that 350 mark or whatever you're baking your pie at. And then it's going to hold for a while, right? Ooh, that's a straight line. And then you turn it off because you're done. And then it cools. But do you think it cools as quickly as it heated up? No. So this line shouldn't be as steep. You know? Try not to make it steep. It's okay. All right. Get it?
All right.
Okay. Ben taking part in a 100-meter sprint. All right, Ben. Okay. So what happens?
He gets 5 feet.
I like full.
we can pretend. He starts at 0 because you're waiting at the line. You would run quickly, maybe like that, hold your speed, and then slow down. And you would just about die. No, you would come to a complete stop. Pretty fast stop. Okay, get the point. Okay, notice how I'm in the curve line. Is that true? Like you start to go, you go faster, and you hold, right? So it's usually like that. Okay, good. I'm done. I think that's it. Okay. So, let me see what's in here.